It's Tuesday, the 12th of November, and live on West Coast Radio, I am Peter Gomez. It's coffee time. Thank you for joining us. As world leaders gather in Azerbaijan for the UN Climate Change Conference, or COP29, there's further evidence 1.5 degrees average warming has already happened. That's based on newly published analysis of pre-industrial Antarctic ice core data and atmospheric carbon dioxide. And it's backed up by a year of above average temperatures. Meanwhile, countries like ours, the Gambia, and Pacific Islanders who are already having to relocate their homes are appealing to the conference for easier access to funding. Coffee Time has received a special message from the Gambia's minister responsible for the environment, climate change, and natural resources, Rohey John Manjang, which I'll play you in a moment.
The American Chicken Festival 2024 is here. Join us for the second annual celebration of all things chicken on Saturday, November 23rd at Hyperlink Village, Palmer Junction, Bethel Harding Highway from 12 p.m. to 12 a.m.
Hello, I am Chef Boje. I'm excited to return for the second annual Chicken Festival.
With over 40 international options from a diverse list of vendors. Music by DJ Wanjo, raffles, the variety show, and plenty of family-friendly food.
From local to international, we got something for everyone.
Come see and taste the difference. Make it a date and don't be late.
It's almost 10 minutes past 9 o'clock, which means the Minister of Information, News, Media, and Broadcasting Services. Is it news media or just media?
It's Information, Media, and Broadcasting Services.
Information, Media, and Broadcasting Services. So Dr. Ismaila Ceesay has just established his presence. The government of Spain and the Gambia earlier this year signed an agreement to reinforce safe and regular migration channels and protect workers' rights. The permanent secretary in the Ministry of Trade, Industry, Regional Integration and Employment is waiting to be ushered into the studio to speak about this. As you know, COP29 is underway in Azerbaijan, or rather in Baku, Azerbaijan. Our Minister of the Environment, Climate Change and Natural Resources is there. She will be speaking to us. Alaji Barrow is on the show, and I'll be talking to Ceesay about the situation of the Independence Stadium and the Gambia still having to play its international matches abroad, in Morocco mainly, and a big game coming up for us on Friday. But Dr. Ceesay is here to update us, as I said earlier on some of the achievements of the Barrow government and challenges still remaining to be conquered. Welcome back.
Good morning, Peter.
Very good morning to you.
Yes.
You look very fresh this morning. Is it your birthday?
No, it's not. It's in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
So, yes, nothing on the achievements yet, just some clarifications. Because as a government, we pride ourselves in being very transparent, and also we feel that we are accountable to the people.
I asked you how many people went to the UN General Assembly in New York. You still cannot give me a figure. That's not transparency.
In the spirit of that accountability and transparency, it's good to make some clarifications when some people peddle misinformation. First and foremost, the current meeting taking place in Riyadh is an extraordinary summit. It's called the Arab Islamic Summit. It is not an OIC summit. And Gambia being the chair of the OIC, no OIC summit will take place without the Gambia chairing that summit. No matter where it takes place, the Gambia will chair that summit. Recently, the one that took place in Cameroon was chaired by Gambia. The foreign minister, Mamadou Tangara, chaired that summit.
Well, I hope this is not misinformation peddled by West Coast Radio. We never said.
Well, no. Okay. It's not. It's just we're trying to respond to what people are saying. Okay. I've heard people saying that Gambia has lost the chairmanship, but just for
really,
because the president is not attending this summit. But just for the public to know that this summit, this Arab Islamic Summit, is not an OIC summit. The OIC is just as an organ of the Arab Islamic regime is broader.
I can help you because we made that very clear yesterday.
Yes.
That this summit, it's an emergency summit organized by the Foreign Ministry of Saudi Arabia.
Exactly. And it's an Arab Islamic summit to talk about the worsening wars in the Middle East. So that should be clear. Also, there's another clarification. I've seen people saying that both the president and the vice president are out of this country, which is also false. The vice president is in town, and as we speak, he's in town. We know what the Constitution says. We know the consequences of both men not being within the jurisdiction of this country. So for the purpose of clarity, both the vice president and the vice president is in town as we speak, and he's in charge representing the president. Now, the other thing has to do with a press release from the Gambia Ferry Services. I've seen a UDP counter press statement making some statements which really need clarifications. We believe that some of those information are misinformation. If you could recall, the PEC, the Public Enterprise Committee of the National Assembly, had instructed the Gambia GPA to initiate a process of revenue optimization because they are running at a loss. And remember, the Gambia Ferry Services is subsidized by government. That is, if a passenger pays $25, that is just 25%. The 75% is subsidized by government, and it's very expensive to run a ferry. That is why we are paying if we are really going to pay the right price, we wouldn't be paying the price we are paying. Because the Gambia Ferry Service was running at a loss, the PEC had instructed them to maximize revenue. And in compliance with this directive, they made a release that security forces, security services, apart from the army, should start paying for the service because they are debt free. Now, this was a long-standing practice only for the security services to be exempted. But the army, by law, are not supposed to pay. That is by law. And in exercise of this mandate, the GFA had made a statement that security services should pay going forward, except the army. And the UDP statement is saying this is discriminatory, that the ferry services are instilling discrimination within the forces. I think that's not a very good statement. There's no discrimination whatsoever on the part of the Gambia Ferry Services. It's just that they are trying to see, because it's not only the security service, students in uniform are not supposed to pay, and some other elderly people and some other people are not supposed to pay. So now to make sure that they maximize revenue, they say now going forward, the security services are going to pay. And for your information, the government has a plan to really increase salaries from next year, and this will be communicated very soon. And I promise that the citizens, including the police, the army, security services, teachers, the nurses, those low-paying officers will be very happy with the new package coming. Is it only for them? Ministers will also have their salaries go up? No, minister salaries are not touched in this time. It is those from grades 1 to 12. Ministers are not touched. Anyone from grade 1 to PS, they will have a salary increment come January. And this is a very, very, very good thing for we all know the cost of living crisis. The salaries has been stagnant while basic commodities are going up, and this will go a long way in closing that gap. Now, the statement also says that the ECOMIC should be asked to pay. I think anybody who understands the mandate of peacekeeping operations, you know that they are established through diplomatic protocol, and therefore sometimes most of these peacekeeping forces are exempt from paying duties and taxes, and that includes also the ferries. So that is just what we want to bring forward. I also heard someone on the radio yesterday that if the president is not represented at these summits, the foreign minister will not be given a chance to speak, which is also false. The president gives anybody who represents the president, particularly the foreign affairs minister, is given full powers. It's delegated to go and speak on behalf of the president and will represent the Gambia. In fact, Turkey's deputy foreign minister is representing Turkey in this event, and he spoke there. And Tangara will also speak and give echo Gambia's voice on the issues in the Middle East. So I just think we should make those clarifications for the purpose of the public.
Thank you. And in terms of new updates from government, any?
Well, they say no news is good news. The government is committed to providing basic essential services to Gambians. Currently, our rural electrification process is going on. We are working on enhancing the electricity grid. Very soon, the power cuts will be a thing of the past. We are getting extra 50 megawatts from Guinea-Conakry at a very cheap rate. We are also now started the process of building another 50 megawatts to be extended to 150 megawatts in Soma. So electricity will be a thing of the past. We are providing clean water in rural areas. The road constructions are going on. Our investments in healthcare facilities are going on. Yesterday, I was at the EFSTH at the cardiology department. I thought I was in another world.
While you were there, can we address the issue of water shortage at the EFSTH?
Yes, it's an issue because remember
What's government doing about it?
We've done something about it. They are either there's a big tank which is not being used in Kanilai, and now there was a deal that
Why
the
not bring
government
it from Mankunda?
No, but there's no tank in Mankamang to be used.
There's
a big tank in Kanila which is not in use, and the community of Kanila has agreed with government that the government will build boreholes there for water supply, which is ongoing by NAWEC, so that in exchange this tank can be brought to AFSTH. Remember, AFSTH's capacity has grown. A lot of people go to AFSTH now, and therefore water. In fact, not only AFSTH, in Banjul, even State House sometimes, they have water issues. But I think that has been solved now. They've brought in extra tanks in AFSTH, and I think that problem now has been solved. Water is number one issue at AFSTH.
We have water issues at London Corner all the time.
Yes, it's because of the ongoing road works. And remember also, like I always argued, that since independence, we have not made any significant investments in our water infrastructure.
Yeah, but that's why you people are in office.
That is what we've done now.
So make that investment.
Yeah, but that is what we've done now. That is what we've done now. I think what we've done in terms of investments in the water infrastructure, no government has done it, but these things are capital intensive and it takes time to build. We are now building on the waterways. We are building bigger pipes under. We are removing the old pipes. We are making sure that there is more planning as well. And remember, if you already have an urban area which is already established, it's difficult to make these changes, but we are working on it. You all know, you see people digging around. Very soon, water shortage will also be a thing of the past. We've invested heavily in the water infrastructure under His Excellency's leadership.
Let me take text messages for you. Last week we couldn't. Uncle Peter, can you ask the minister, the annual budget speech should be made 60 days before the closure of the financial year. We are now in November and government is yet to make it this year for 2025. Are there no financial plans for 2025? If so, how will ministries know their budget limitations?
Well, there is. The budget process started way back and it has been concluded. Cabinet met 2 days, consecutive days last week, very whole days to scrutinize the budget. We are done. It's going to the National Assembly by the 15th, I think, of this month. It will be laid before the National Assembly. That is on course.
Can you ask, Doctor, what fields are the youths embarking on for the Spain migration program and what lessons learned with the number of influx of youths applying to travel? If these are agricultural fields, what plans have they to create this opportunity for youths to believe we can make it here?
I think the PS of trade is out there waiting for me to leave so he can come in and answer those questions on the Spain-Gambia labor migration deal.
Good morning, Peter. Can you ask Mr. Ceesay about Kanilai Ferry? Do you feel offended when people say Mr. instead of Doctor?
No, my name is Ismaila. They can even call me Ismaila.
Okay. Good morning, Peter. Can you ask Mr. Ceesay about Kanilai Ferry and why still no education minister for some months now?
Well, for the Kanilai Ferry, like we said, there was a total overhaul of the Kanilai Ferry in terms of repairing it, refurbishing it, and also making sure that it comes back. Remember, the Kanilai Ferry is an old ferry. It has never gone through such a comprehensive overhaul, and it's soon going to be ready, and it's going back to service very soon. Now, with the Minister of Education, that is the prerogative of the President. Whenever the President feels that he's ready to appoint someone, he's found a competent person, he'll appoint that person.
All right. You don't want to ask him why, so that you stop coming to the radio and saying the same thing all the time. It is his prerogative. Of course, we know.
The President appoints.
He must have a reason. If you can just tell me what the reason is.
The President.
Either he still hasn't found somebody competent enough or what?
Well, I'm here to serve, and I'm doing my job as a minister. Everybody has his job. That is the job of the President to appoint people to ministerial positions.
Good day to you, Brother Peter. Don't mind the UDP about the ferry services. The ferry's general manager was an ex-MD of both the GPA and the SSHFC. Mr. Tambadu is a certified chartered accountant by profession. So where is the incompetency coming from? UDP are just bad mouthers. It's the general public that is supposed to cry foul in lieu of the UDP. UDP should know their limit. We all know that the ferry services are underfunded. I am a retired GPA staffer and a living witness. The ferry's GM is a badibunka. UDP should refrain from tribalist theories. Mr. Tambadu is a very competent GM. I've known him for more than 25 years at GPA, and the person says thanks. I don't think that's
but I also saw on the UDP press release that prison officers that are transporting prisoners from Mile 2 to some other prison will have to pay for the ferry.
That's now going off on us.
Yes, so that also is false. These security officers on official duties normally provide a coupon to the ferry services, which is paid later by the institutions. It's only private travels that the security service, apart from the army, are going to pay, and the army, because it's by law. For the other security services, it has been a long-standing practice, and the GFS now realizes that that is becoming a burden on them.
Good morning, Uncle Peter. Can you ask the Information Minister whether he knows that Banjul is suffering from serious water shortage? It's affecting the hospital and dozens of schools in the city. And this is from Alex Badunyang. Just go back to it again. He must have missed it.
Yes, like I said, this is a problem in Banjul and its surroundings, and the NAWEC is working on it. We are now fixing the water systems and overhauling it. So very soon that will be a thing of the past. But now for the FSTH, that problem has been, because I personally engaged the health minister when I heard about the issue of operations being halted at the FSTH because of water shortage. That was just a couple of hours. For safety measures they are taken. But that problem has been solved now.
Fantastic. 5 minutes, you don't want to discuss anything?
We have a press conference tomorrow. The Ministry of Information, Media and Broadcasting Services monthly press conference. And the Managing Director of the Gambia Ports Authority, Usman Jobate, will be our guest tomorrow. So West Coast is invited to the press conference.
Oh, we will be there. We will be there.
We'll discuss a lot of issues about the ferry. If you want any questions about the ferry, about the new port extension program happening in Banjul, about the deep sea port we are building in Sanyang, and other questions, any journalist who's interested in answering those questions. But also, I'll be there as well to answer questions from the point of view of the government.
That alone is reason for me to come.
I know you will not go there. I've never seen you in press conferences before. You are a boss now.
And you're a super boss.
No.
Ismaila, thanks for coming.
Thank you, Peter.
That's the Minister of Information, Media and Broadcasting Services. Now, the 29th United Nations Climate Conference got underway in Baku, Azerbaijan on Monday. This year's meeting will revolve around efforts to stump up the funds needed to cut pollution and adapt to more violent weather. COP is the premier global climate summit organized under the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. But several prominent world leaders are skipping the summit and sending their deputies instead. They include President Barrow, whose seat at the summit will be filled by Mohamed B.S. Jallow, our Vice President. Now, the minister responsible for the environment, climate change, and natural resources is also in Baku. And as the climate conference got underway on Monday, she recorded a special message for Coffee Time, detailing what the summit is all about and what the Gambia expects to gain from it.
Greetings, Peter. How are you? I extend greetings also to the listeners out there. Let me briefly introduce myself for those who might not recognize my voice. This is Rohey John Manjang, the Minister for Environment, Climate Change and Natural Resources. I send you greetings, warm greetings from the land of Azerbaijan in Baku, attending COP29. The Gambia once again joined the rest of the world to celebrate our climate actions, but more so also to reinforce negotiations and induce actions that will translate to meeting the 1.5 temperature reduction targets within the Paris Agreement. Peter, climate change refers to the long-term shift in temperature and weather patterns. One would think that it's all about global warming. Climate change has gone beyond that. The Gambia, as we have witnessed, climate-induced challenges lead to us witnessing shift in temperature patterns, but more so also the sea level rise is affecting us. We have seen Basse, part of Basse, that's the URR. We've seen communities that has witnessing inundations to the extent that they have to relocate to other parts of the community to allow the water to go back to normal. These are all signs, critical signs of climate change, but even receiving erratic and unpredicted rainfalls and patterns is also a critical challenge that we have witnessed in the past. Peter, the induced climate change is all man-made. Recently, we understand well naturally the shift and change of climate change do happen, but at a minimal rate and not as intense as we are witnessing for the past 1,000 years. Since the 1800s, we have seen drastic change in industrial revolution, and this has translated to warmer temperatures that have historic, and then that have also caused so many challenges in our lives and livelihoods. But what is more important is to know that all these radical shift in temperature and also the impact of climate change is all mainly by the induced action of human beings. Therefore, one will agree that the same human beings are the ones that can provide solutions to these challenges or to this problem. But what do we need to do? It's not all about talking. A lot of promises have been made, a lot of pledges have been made, but we still are not able to get this translated to the right actions that will give us the required results to meeting the 1.5 temporary reduction within limits and also within reach. The average temperature of the Earth's surface is now, one is saying above, others are saying little below. But this is science to judge us right. As far as the Gambia is concerned, 2023 to 2024, we have witnessed historically the hottest temperature since going back 100 years ago. This is unprecedented and is likely to continue increasing to be the same. What should we do? That is why we are here at COP29. What are we going to do? What are the level of commitments required to get this change backtracked? This is why we are here at COP29. Well, the main two things that are going to lead the negotiation and discussion at COP29, one is going to be the new collective quantified goals, and two is going to be matters of Article 6, which has to deal with carbon trading and its mechanism. I just want to quote the COP presidents of the 28th presidency of UAE. Words has been very resounding, very encouraging, but powerful. But I guess no matter how short they are, they have hit the goal right to it. He mentioned that COP29 is a roadmap for keeping 1.5 within reach. But I like one thing he said. History will judge us by our action and not by our words. And this is what we need to happen at COP29. We need actions to translate what we have been saying and also the pledges. He reassured the COP29 of his full support, which is usual, but also gave him an advice: let action speak louder than voice, and added that we are what we do and not what we say. I like this, Peter. As for the LDC, this has always been our cry. Honestly, we are the least contributor to these challenges, but we are the hardest hit. I understand, and I keep saying this, the entire world is being affected by climate change, but our level and then powers to respond to the challenges differ. And this is mainly by the level of our economy and our technological advance. We have recently been seeing an increase in continuous flood year come year round. The 2022 flood alone has been estimated to cost the Gambia more than 80 million US dollar. That's just on the surface. How about the other connecting dot, the indirect loss that we have facing after even 2022? Our economy itself is being affected. The unrealistic nature of access to climate finance is giving us the problem that we are facing as a country. The new collective quantified goal is crucial for 2029. We are looking forward to building a consensus on a new climate finance. As they keep saying, COP29 is a COP for finance. It's a climate finance COP. It is time to turn commitments into actions through increased access to grants and concessional finance. That's our position. Climate finance has been coming, but it is not reaching the vulnerable countries, simply because the conditions attached are difficult to break.
That's Honorable Rohey John Manjang, the Gambia's minister responsible for the environment, climate change, and natural resources.